Okay, let's work on the single idea page, but before we do that, let's fix a few issues on the index page here. So the first issue is if this text is not long and doesn't span the entire width. So let's look for that first card here, and let's just delete the text here, and you'll see the issue. This is not correct. So let's try to fix this in DevTools first. So select the item, and let's see if you can just put a width full on this div and see if that fixes it. Width full. So it doesn't. Let's try adding a flex 1 here. Will that do it? Yeah, that fixes it. So let's just add that to our code. So flex 1, or no, width full on this one, and flex 1 up here. Okay. Cool. The next thing I want to add is a subtle border around this button here. So that's this button here. And we can just use the border class. And I'm okay with the default gray that it provides. Okay. And the last thing is this link here. So it's an anchor tag. And you see it spans the entire height. So if this were an actual link, it would go to that link, which I don't want. So you'll see it by the page scrolling up when I click it. So later on, we'll make this box or the entire box clickable. So I don't want that to happen because when I click here, I want it to go to the single post page. So what we can do is just wrap this in a div and put the flex none on that instead of the anchor tag. So that would be this one right here. Let's take the flex none out and let's wrap this in a div. Flex none, and that should do it. So now the div is still the entire height, but that's fine. So if I click this, you'll see that the div is the entire height, but now when you click on it, it won't go to that link. Okay, so that's it. And I had to make those fixes because this layout looks pretty much the same as the layout we're about to do. So the single idea page. So the only difference is the votes section gets moved down here to the bottom right. And we add the user's name here. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go to our routes file and add a new route. So we can do route get, or we can also do route view. Doesn't matter because we're going to change this later anyways when we make it dynamic, but let's say show for now. And that's going to go to a, actually it's named idea. That will go to a view named show. So let's make that layout, or that new view I mean. So we can just duplicate this. Let's call it show.blade.php. And let's just remove everything here. Okay, let's start with the link here. So the link that goes back. So let's make a new div. And that should be a link. And it's going to be flex because there's an icon. So flex items center, semi-bold. And let's make it hover underline. Okay. And let's add the SVG in a second. Let's just do ML2 and we have all ideas. Okay. And let's grab, actually let's go to the show page. So idea. And let's grab that chevron left icon. So let's look for that in the icon set I'm using here. Chevron left, copy SVG. Let's paste that in. And we don't need this. And what do I have here? I have width 4 and height 4. See if that looks good. And that looks fine to me. And for now, let's just link it back to the home page. And now let's grab the card from the index page. So let's check out the index page actually. So grab the entire card here, and then we can get rid of this first flex item, and we'll see if that works for us. So back to the index page. Let's grab the first card because that one has the fixes. So that would be this idea container. So let me grab all of this. And let's just see if that renders correctly. Okay. Okay. Let's give it a margin top right here. And we can get rid of some of this because we don't need the cursor pointer because it's not a link. We don't need the hover because it's not a link, like I said. So we don't need all of this transition stuff. And that should be fine. Let's take a look. Okay. And the hover stuff is gone as well. Let's see. Is my comment here to close it? It's not. And idea container. Okay, so we don't need this flex item here. So let's get rid of that one. Let's see which one that is actually. It is the one with the border R. So we can delete that entirely. Where's border R? So this first flex item. So let's get rid of that. See how that looks. Okay, looks good. Maybe a bit more padding on the left now that it's in its own container. So yeah, a bit more padding there. That would be on this flex1 div. So px4 maybe. Okay, that looks fine. Now we can add the username here. Right here. So let's do that. I believe it's a bit bigger or bolder at least. Yeah, it's bold. So let's do that. Be down here. Is there a bullet between it? There is. So we can add this. Let's make this bold. And text gray 900. Say John Doe. And let's see how that looks. Looks good. Okay, now let's work on the buttons. So we have buttons here. So let's be a flex container as well. Justify sent or justify between first flex item, second flex item. So let's go ahead and do that. So that would be underneath the idea container. So after this, let's add a buttons container. And let's end that. So flex, like I said. Items, center, justify, between, and let's give it a margin. So the first flex item would have these two buttons here, reply and set status. So let's grab the blue one from the submit button. So that would be in app blade PHP submit. And it's this one right here. Let's grab this. Let's paste it in. And it's not a submit button, so let's change that. Let's change it to button. And I don't want this width here, so let's get rid of that. And let's see how that looks. What's it called? It's called a reply. Okay. And let's see. I have it set to width 32. So let's add that. And let's see how that looks. Okay. There's a hover on it. It is cool. Now let's add the set status button, which is similar to the attach button, so we can grab that as well. So again, back to our app. Let's grab this button up here. And paste it after here. And this is a button as well. It's called set status. The SVG should be after. So let's move that down. Let's reindent that. And the margin should go on, or we can make this one margin right. And obviously we have to change the icon, but let's see how that looks. And that is not in the correct place. Oh yeah, so this has to be a flex container as well. So where these two buttons are. Let's do flex, items, center. Let's give it some space in between them, space X4, and a margin left of 6. Okay. And I'm giving it a margin left because you can see the margin in the design here. So here is the edge of the container, and there's some margin here for the button. See how that looks? Okay. And we just have to change the icon here. And I think I want to take the width off of this one as well. So yeah, don't want this width 1/2. See how that looks? Didn't really change it, but that's fine, I think. What's the design look like? Looks like it's the same width. It's a bit longer. So maybe width 36 or 30, is there 34? There's not 36. See how that looks. Okay, that's fine. Let's just change the icon. So it's a chevron down. So this one here, copy SVG, and let's paste that right here instead of this SVG. Let's make it width 4 is what I have here. Let's get rid of this. Class equals width 4, height 4. Okay. Oops. Okay, looks good to me. Maybe a bit more margin on the chevron. Yeah, let's give it some more margin. I'm going to put the margin on the chevron actually. So margin left of 2. Let's get rid of this one here. Okay. So next is this section with the vote button and the number of votes. So let's do that. So that would be the flex, second flex item in this flex container here. So this is the first one. Actually, we can grab this as well. And this is the second one. Just close that out. I have space X3 for this one instead. And there's no margin left on this one. Okay, so the first flex item is this number of votes. So let's do that. BG white. It's semi-bold. Centered. Rounded XL. PX3 and PY2. And the first item is the number of votes. I have it as text extra large for the size. I have leading snug for the line height, just so it's closer to the word votes. And we have 12 here. And for the word votes, I have another div. And it's a different color. Text gray 400 is what I have. It's extra small for the size. And leading none, like I said. So the two items are closer to each other vertically. So let's take a look at how that looks. Can't really see it. Let's get rid of this dialog for now. So that would be up here. So this, let's just hide it for now, hidden. Okay, so that looks good. Let's add the vote button here. And it's pretty much the same as all of our gray buttons. So we'll just grab this one here and maybe change the width and remove the icon. So let's grab this button. It will be the second flex item, so this one. And it doesn't have to be flex, so let's remove this. And let's make it 32. Don't need the icon. I believe it's uppercase. Let's put that somewhere here. Is it uppercase? It is, and the text is vote. Or just say like this. Okay. So yeah, that looks good to me. Actually, we want these two to be the same height. Is everything the same height in this row? Let's see. Everything is not the same height, but these two are the same height. Actually, no, this one's larger. And so yeah, it looks fine. Okay, what's next? I believe it's the comments section here. So yeah, it's pretty much the same layout as this, except we don't have all of these items here, and there's no status. So yeah, we can just copy that. So let's make a container for all of the comments first, because we have to work on this section as well with the line. Okay. So that's after the buttons container. Let's make a new one called comments container. And let's make it space Y6. Margin left of 22 is what I have because there is a margin here. And let's just give some margin on the top and the bottom, MY8. And let's end that out. So let's just grab the idea container and see if we can work with that. So that would be up here. Where is it? Idea container. Let's grab this and let's paste it in here and see what we get. Let's re-indent that. Let's change it to a comment container. Oops. Comment. And let's close the comment container. And let's see what we get here. Okay. Why is it not indenting on the left? Oh, I think it's because 22 is not defined. Let's check the IntelliSense. Yeah, there's no 22, so let's make it 24. And let's see if that works. Yeah, so actually let me make it 22. And we'll add that in our Tailwind config. So 22 divided by 4 is 5.5. 5.5 rems. And it's npm run, oops, wrong one, npm run dev. Okay, let's try that again with 22. Did I add that? Yeah, it's 22 now. Let's see if there's a margin, and there is, cool. Okay, what don't we need here? We don't need category, comments, and the status. So let's get rid of those. So down here, don't need category, comments, and we don't need the status. So that would be this first flex item, I believe. Yeah, so that looks pretty good. And I actually think there's no bullet in between those two. Not sure if that's intentional, but I guess I'll just leave it for now. Actually, there's no title here because it's a comment. There is a title if it's the admin posting, like it is here. But for this one, there is no title, so let's get rid of that one. So that would be the H4. I'm just going to comment it out for now because I need it for the admin one. See how that looks. Okay. And let's put more text in here for the description up here. Oh yeah, and there's no more line clamp on this because this is the full description. Okay. And let's make one more for the admin here. And there's only a few differences, the blue name and the admin here. And then we'll work on these lines and this dot in a second. So let's do that. That would be the comment container down here. And let me just duplicate this one. So we should have two now. That should look okay. And it does. Let me just change the images here. It doesn't matter, but I like having different images. It just looks better, even if it's just temporary for now. So where's that image? Right here. So this is going to be 3. This one's going to be 2. And the first one is 1. Okay. So like I said, this one is blue. And we have the admin label there. So let's add that for the second one. So this person's name is Andrea. Text blue instead of text gray 900. Okay. And the admin label underneath the image. So the image is up here. Also, there is a title, so let's put that back. And what's the title? Title is status change to under construction. Let's change that. Status change. Okay. and the admin label. So that would be up here underneath the A tag. Let's add admin. Would that do it? Okay, it has to be text center. And what else? Uppercase and text blue. And smaller text. And it's bold. So let's try text, XS, font, bold. And maybe a margin top. Say 1 maybe. Maybe even smaller. Text XXS. Yeah, it looks better. Okay. So I'm just going to duplicate one more. So we have 3 comments. So let's do that. And I just want to duplicate the first one and not make any changes to that. So let me just grab this one and paste it underneath the second one. So that's the second one. And this is the third one. Let me change the image as well. So that would be 4. Okay. Okay, now for the lines next to the comments. So there is a vertical line here, and there are horizontal lines next to each comment. So this is actually taken from the Laracast's forum. So I'm going to go to a forum here, and you see for each reply, we get the same treatment. So this vertical line and this horizontal line next to each comment. So luckily for me, this is already implemented, and I can pretty much just steal what Jeffrey did here. So let's inspect what he's doing. He's making use of the before pseudo selector. So you can see this line is highlighted, and he's using position absolute, left -36, and making a line here. So you can see it's just a thin line with a 3 pixel width, height 100%, and this color and this opacity. And this lives on the container with all of the responses. And we have something similar, so we can just pretty much steal this. And unfortunately, I don't think there's pseudo selector support for Tailwind. There's probably a plugin, but I'm just going to do it the old-fashioned way and use our CSS file in here. Let's paste that in. Actually, we have to use our comments container and before, and then we can paste it in. So I have a few tweaks here. I'm just moving it over to the left a bit more, so 40 pixels. And let me just change the background to black so you can see it. And then we'll put it back to this color later on, which is the color I ended up using. Okay, and we have to, I'm gonna run my watcher here, so I don't have to keep running npm run dev. Okay, and let's see if that did anything. And it didn't. What's wrong? So I think the problem here is we have to make our parent div relative. So I believe the comments container has to be relative. So let's scroll up. Let's make a relative here. And let's see if this works. And there it is. So let's put a comment there so we know what that is. So this is the vertical line to the left of the comments. Okay, let's comment that out. And now let's go ahead and steal the horizontal line. So this line here. So again, it's a before pseudo selector for each of the comments. So let's look at this one right here. Before pseudo selector. And let's just steal this. And let's put it in our CSS. And this is for comment container. Before. Paste that in. And again, I have slightly different dimensions here. So -40 pixels. And let's fix this. And let's make it black as well, so we can see it. Background, black. Okay. And does this work? Let's try. Okay, there we go. So this occurs on each comment. So it looks pretty good. And the last thing we have to do is remove this section here. So again, let's check out what Laracast is doing. I believe it's just using the last child selector. So let's grab the last comment. So that would be this one right here. And there should be a last child on this one, is there? No, there isn't. Oh no, so he's using the after pseudo selector. So right here. So all this is doing is adding a line here. So it hides the remaining lines. So if I remove this, you'll see that line there. So again, let's copy this. So it's going to be the last child after selector for our comment container. So let's do that as well. So here, comment container, last child, and after. Let's paste that in. And the left is 40 in our case. And the background is the same background as we're using. So I just hard coded it, but there is a way to grab the theme color, which I don't know from the top of my head. So let's just hard code it. F7, we can see it in our Tailwind config. So it's the gray background we use. So F7, F8, FC. FC, okay. And let's see if this works. Back here, let's see if it gets rid of this section right here. And it gets rid of everything, which I don't want, obviously. So I think I also have to make the comment container relative as well. So I made the comments container relative here, but we need to make the comment container relative. So let's try that. So that's 1, that's 2, and look for the third one here. And let's see if that works. And it looks like it does. Cool. So let me just put the color back. So this, let's get rid of black. Okay. And let's see if this works. And yeah, it's looking pretty good. Okay, one more thing here. Let's add the circle here. So right here, which indicates that this person is an admin, and change it to this status here. So each status has a color like you saw in this page here. And I think that circle represents the status. So let's put it down here. And we have to indicate which comment is the admin comment. So it's this second one. So I'm going to add a isAdmin class here. And again, we have to make a before pseudo selector here for isAdmin. So isAdmin before. And this is just making a circle using CSS. So let me just, actually I'm going to paste it in because this is getting quite long. Okay, so I pasted in the CSS properties, and like I said, it's just a circle. And this is how you add a theme. So let me change this up here. So it should be theme colors.gray background. And let's see if this works. Okay, let's hard refresh. And it looks like it does work. Cool. So this color is going to have to change based on the status. So I'm not sure how I'm going to do that, but we'll worry about that later when we get there. And one more thing that I noticed. So this line goes all the way up here, closer to the reply button. But for our container here, it ends right here. So I believe if we just play around with the margins and the paddings on the comments container, then that should fix it. So let's go up to the comments container right here. Let's add a margin top of 1 and a padding top of 6. And I think that should do it. And yeah, that looks good to me. Is that too much? Maybe if I lower the padding top, it shouldn't go that high. So yeah, you can just play around with those numbers, but I'm pretty happy with how this looks. So one more thing I noticed here, this is pushed over. I think I just have to make it absolute. So back here, say position absolute. And that should bump it over, hopefully. And it does, but now it's not following the margin here. Actually, this one is correct. These ones are not following the margin. Why not? Oh, this should be absolute. Not sure why it's relative there. And that did not. Oh yeah, I did fix it. Cool. So yeah, everything's looking pretty good. So one more small thing that I noticed here. If you zoom in, looks like there's some clipping here because of the opacity. And it doesn't happen on the Laracast site because the background's white. So what I'm going to do here is just set the color and don't set in opacity. So I've already done that. Save that. Let it compile, and now, yeah, it's gone now. So I'll stick with that. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with everything here. Let's go ahead and stop this. Make a commit. What episode is this? 5. Git add, git commit. Episode 5, say design single idea page.